Good afternoon, students. Today I'm going to talk about how to write your first essay, the narrative essay. Let me share my screen. All right, writing a narrative essay. First, you need some kind of invention technique. So follow the invention strategies from my previous video or lecture. After you've done some invention work, you want to generate an overall message of your narrative essay. This message will be your thesis. I have some example theses here. Getting married at an early age taught me how to be more responsible with my money and career. Next example, walking through nature has improved my mental health and mental nourishment. And the final thesis example, listening to music, especially folk music, has taught me how to write poetry and has led me to a deeper understanding of myself. In my examples, notice how I begin the thesis with a gerund, an ing form of a verb, such as getting, walking, listening. Then I move into a verb and end with how the person has changed. You can use this form to write your own thesis. So walking through nature, that's the gerund phrase. Then the verb has improved. And then the rest of it, my mental health and mental nourishment. So that's a kind of a three-part structure to writing a thesis. Do think about this as an example to write your own thesis. For practice, what I want you to do is write two thesis sentences for your essay. You're not turning them in or anything. You're just practicing. Write two thesis sentences and then choose one of the two as your favorite and then use that one in your paper. Writing an introduction is the next step. An introduction begins by grabbing the reader's attention. You can begin an introduction in one of the following ways. You could begin with a statistic. According to writer Daniel McKim, early marriages occur within 20% of the population within the United States. You can begin with a startling statement. Imagine living in a country where child marriages occur at 15 years old. In Lebanon, marriages can occur as early as 15 years old with the judge's approval. So that's a startling statement. You can begin by challenging a widely held assumption. While many people view medication as the panacea to better health, walking in nature and taking medication may have a stronger benefit to mental health. So we're challenging a widely held assumption. You could begin with a story, an anecdote, or a descriptive story. Okay, here's a story. I live near a forest with ample hills, trees, and water leading to a river. I step outside for the first time to smell the musky scent of pine trees. And you can continue the story for a few more sentences as a descriptive element of establishing kind of the scene for the reader before moving into a thesis. You can begin with a rhetorical question or two questions, I think is a good idea. Have you ever been in a bad mood and then walked outside as nature completely changed your mood? Have you ever experienced calmness and tranquility while walking on a nature trail? So two rhetorical questions creates a dynamic effect for the reader, and they're engaged in the process. You could also begin with a quotation. Kim Goggin writes, looking out over a sparkling sea or standing in the forest, embraced with all that greenery, I am at peace. So practice grabbing the reader's attention by writing two samples. Then pick the sample that you like best for your paper. So go ahead and do that now. Grab some paper or get on the computer and create two introductions and pick the one that you like the most. I have a few more suggestions for you before you do that. Oh, that's all. That's all I have. I'm sorry. I thought I had more. Next, after grabbing the reader's attention, you want to explain the issue or expand the story with 4 or 5 more sentences. It doesn't have to be a long introduction. So I'm going to use the descriptive anecdote as an example of the introduction. I live near a forest with ample hills, trees, and water leading to a river. I step outside for the first time to smell the musky scent of pine trees. The weather itself brings me to the realization that nature can improve my mental health, especially when I'm having a bad day. When visiting the lake, I find the calm waters and the blowing wind a perfect nourishment for my once upsetting anger. In fact, and here's the thesis, walking through nature has improved my mental health and mental nourishment. It's as easy as that. Tell a story, go into some detail with some description, and then move into your thesis statement. That's all you need to do in an introduction. Next would be your body paragraphs. I have a picture here of the classic story structure of a narrative essay. You have a beginning, which is called the exposition. You have rising action. You have a climax. You have falling action, and then a resolution of conflict, and then your conclusion. So in your body paragraphs, you want to tell your story using narrative techniques. Break down your story into three main areas in chronological order. Area 1, describe the opening conflict within the story. That's the exposition and part of the rising action. Area 2, focus on developing the scenes related to the conflict. The conflict is the rising action. And then 3 would be the climax, falling action, and resolution. Describe the resolution of the conflict. And then 4, area 4, self-reflect on the story, providing your own self-reflective knowledge of what happened is the story, and then what you have learned is the self-reflection stage. Some narrative techniques that you can use in your body paragraphs. You definitely want to have some kind of setting. So early in the story, describe the setting in 3 or 4 sentences. If the event happens in multiple settings, describe the setting again when the new event happens. So in multiple paragraphs, you may have to describe the setting multiple times if it's a different setting. Plot covers the event sequences through the following structure: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. You should have some characters within your story, including yourself. During the essay, describe character details, dialogue, and show them interacting in your narrative. Usually, characters contain conflict within themselves or with other characters. You may want to represent the conflict of the characters in your story too. Stories tend to have dialogue. I've gone over dialogue already. In other in invention strategies in my last lecture, use dialogue in areas when conflict, differences, or agreements arise. Metaphor in the self-reflection stage, consider using a metaphor to show how you have changed. Description throughout the narrative, spend some time describing the event and providing useful details to the reader. Finally, self-reflection in this stage, ask difficult questions related to the learning experience. What have you learned from the experience or event? Reflect by using a metaphor. Show how you have overcome any obstacles. So those are some narrative techniques that you can follow in the essay. And finally, a conclusion. The conclusion should wrap up the story and offer a final verdict on life experience. So it's the final verdict. One method of concluding is a call to action. You can urge your reader to change in some way, to follow in your footsteps, for instance. Another type of conclusion, make a connection to the introduction, especially the opening sentences. Continue expanding on the ideas from your introduction. You could also conclude with a quotation that summarizes your experiences, some kind of profound quotation that leads the reader to some kind of understanding. Ask the reader a series of rhetorical questions and then possibly answer these questions, or summarize key ideas or points learned from your experience, and then follow with a final verdict on the situation. So that's basically the narrative structure. I hope you've learned something today, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me. Thanks for listening.